We've had social media for about 2 decades, and only now are we asking the question that we probably should have been asking much earlier, which is what happens when a child grows up with an algorithm shaping their attention from day one? Now, not just seeing the wrong things online, but actually spending the most important years of development inside a system built around these small, repeated dopamine hits delivered on demand through these devices that rarely leave their hands. That question is now being tested in a US court, where a landmark case is asking whether social media platforms were deliberately designed to be addictive, especially for children. Now, the focus isn't on individual posts or bad content slipping through moderation, but rather on the architecture of the apps themselves. Infinite scroll, autoplay, notifications, and recommendation systems allegedly designed to keep users from putting their phone down. What's changed is the framing. You see, once design choices intended to drive addictive behaviors are put on trial, the stakes shift from public debate to legal responsibility. Now, that is likely why Snapchat chose to settle its part of the case before a jury was even seated, keeping the details out of public view. Now, Meta, TikTok, and YouTube are still going to court, but a pre-trial settlement is usually a sign that the industry can feel the ground shifting beneath it. Now, that shift in accountability isn't staying contained within the US. As we've discussed, Australia has already moved to ban social media for under 16s, and South Africa is starting to sniff around that same idea. For some policymakers, social media is being increasingly discussed alongside other public healthcare blind spots like cigarettes, things that once felt harmless until the evidence caught up. Now, whether that comparison ultimately holds is what courts, researchers, and regulators are now trying to work out. Now, platform accountability might be playing out in the US courts, but South African regulators just landed their own punch, and the telecoms are the ones taking it. We all know the feeling. You buy data, don't getting around to using all of it, and then one day it just expired, sometimes even followed by those cheeky out-of-bundle charges that you didn't see coming. Now, that frustration has been around for years, but what's changed now is that South Africa's telecoms regulator, ICASA, has just stepped in and is forcing mobile networks to change the rules. So in plain terms, this is what's coming. If you buy a data bundle and don't finish it, the unused data won't just disappear anymore. It gets carried over once into your next bundle period. Not forever, just a second chance to use it. You'll also be allowed to transfer data to someone on the same network, and you won't be hit with those crazy out-of-bundle charges unless you've actively opted in. On top of that, networks have to warn you when you hit 50, 80, and 100% usage, not only after the damage is done. Now, operators haven't taken this quietly. Vodacom, MTN, and others argue that the changes are costly, complex, and could eventually push prices higher. ICASA's counter view is that too many networks designed expiry rules that benefited them at the consumer's expense. And so on paper, this is a clear win for users, but the real test is going to be whether networks absorb the cost or find themselves jacking up the prices. So while those rules took years to change, the money in your wallet just moved a lot faster. A number that South Africans haven't seen in nearly 4 years suddenly popped back up onto the trading screens as the rand briefly broke through 16 rand to the dollar, a level last touched in mid-2022. But that immediately raises the question here, whose win is this really? Is the rand suddenly stronger, or is the US dollar simply weaker? Now, the answer is a bit of both, but not equally. You see, globally, the dollar has been weighed down by policy uncertainty in Washington and expectations of US rate cuts, while the same jittery geopolitical backdrop has helped to push gold and other precious metals to recent highs. Now, for South Africa, that matters because higher metal prices boost both our export earnings and foreign currency inflows. At home, the rand is also getting tailwinds from improved sentiment, South Africa's FATF grey list exit, a credit rating upgrade by S&P Global, and strong demand for local bonds as investors chase higher yields and diversify away from US assets. And so in the end here, the tension is durability. The rand didn't stay below 16 rand for long, and analysts say that without foster growth and continued improvements in our local economy, this rally could prove fragile. And so yes, touching 16 Rand is one thing, but living there is another. And before we cruise on to our bagel bite of the day, here's a couple other headlines worth knowing. For starters, government plans to reclassify creative performers as formal employees, bringing actors, musicians, and artists under minimum wage, leave, and injury protections. A move aimed at job security, but one that could reshape contract work across creative industries. Pushback is growing against Eskom's unbundling plan, with both Treasury and Operation Vulindlela warning that keeping the grid under Eskom control could block competition, stall transmission investments, and undermine efforts to prevent future load shedding. And companies could soon earn up to 30 BBBEE points for contributing 3% of profits to a revamped transformation fund, a shortcut that could lift firms several scorecard levels without ownership changes. Now, we'll likely cover this in more detail in tomorrow's show, so be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss it. And just a side note, I'd like to announce that we have officially launched the 100K challenge. If Daily Bagel's YouTube channel reaches 100,000 subscribers by the 1st of September, Philip and I will do whatever the community chooses. Funny, ambitious, ridiculous, anything goes. Now, please drop your ideas in the comments below. We'll take the best ones, narrow them down, put them in a poll, and commit to the winner. And so just for context, we've already gone from 0 to 40,000 subscribers in about 7 months, which means the new target is 60,000 followers in about 6 months. Daily Bagel has always been shaped by you. Now let's see how far we can take it together. And on to our bagel bite of the day. Let's see what you got. The question is, what is the name of the fictional newspaper in the Harry Potter series? Is it A, the Daily Prophet, B, the Daily Cauldron, or C, the Daily Diagon? We'll give you all the answer at the end of the show. South Africa drives on the left, but globally, that makes us the odd ones out. About 2/3 of countries around the world drive on the right, while only about 1/3 stick to the left. Now that split isn't about safety or engineering or what makes more sense. It's about who wrote the rules first and who everyone else copied. So in South Africa's case, the decision wasn't made locally at all. Left-hand driving arrived with the British colonial rule in the 1800s, long before cars were common. And by the time roads, licenses, and traffic laws were formalized, Britain's system was already embedded, and once that infrastructure exists, switching side becomes close to impossible. But zoom out and the global divide tells a bigger story. You see, Britain formalized left-hand driving early and exported it across its empire. France then went the other way after the revolution, and Napoleon spread right-hand driving across Europe. From there, the Americas followed European vehicle design, and much of Asia generally followed whoever built their railways. And so if driving overseas ever feels disorientating, that's because you're not just adjusting to traffic, you're pretty much crossing an old imperial fault line. And as for that bagel bite, the answer is the Daily Prophet. In the books, it's treated as the official paper of record, widely read, rarely questioned, and easily influenced by the Ministry of Magic. Which is why, when it gets things wrong, almost the entire wizard world gets things wrong with it. Sound familiar? And my friends, that's it for today's show. Thanks so much for tuning in. Now get out of here, go make someone's day, and we'll catch you all tomorrow for the next round of the good stuff. God bless.